The cargo ship Biko drifted through the empty darkness of space. Its engines hummed softly as it moved past the warning beacons that floated like small red stars in the void. Each beacon sent the same message: do not enter. Quarantine zone. Death awaits. Tiho stood at the control panel and watched the forbidden planet grow larger through the window. Noctis 7. The world that had killed 3 attempts at colonization. The world that no ship had visited in over 20 years. "We should not be here," said Yuna from behind him. She was his younger sister, 4 years younger, and she had been saying the same thing for the past hour. The signal could be old, it could be a trap, it could be anything. "It is a distress signal," Tiho replied calmly. "Someone is alive down there." Someone was alive when they sent it. That was 6 hours ago. On Noctis 7, 6 hours is a very long time to stay alive. Tiho turned to look at his sister. She had the same dark eyes as him, the same black hair, but where he was calm, she was always worried. It was not a bad thing. Her worry had saved them many times in their years of running cargo across the outer territories. "I know what lives on that planet," he said. "I have read the reports." "Then you know we should run." "I also know that if someone is dying down there and we fly away, I will not be able to sleep tonight, or tomorrow night, or any night after that." Yuna closed her eyes and let out a long breath. She knew her brother. When he decided something, he did not change his mind. It was the most frustrating thing about him. It was also the reason she trusted him with her life. "Fine," she said, "but if we die, I am going to be very angry with you." Tiho smiled slightly and turned back to the controls. The Biko began its descent toward the dark surface of Noctis 7. The planet was beautiful in a terrible way. Thick forests covered most of its surface, but the trees were not green. They were black and purple, and they seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. The sky above was a permanent twilight, as if the sun was always setting but never quite finished. The distress signal led them to a crashed ship in a small clearing. It was an Orani vessel, sleek and silver, now broken and half buried in the dark soil. The Orani were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. They had been exploring space when humans were still learning to make fire. They considered themselves the most intelligent beings in existence. "Orani," Yuna said as they landed nearby. "They never ask for help. For them to send a distress signal, things must be very bad." They put on their survival suits and stepped out of the Biko. The air was breathable but cold, and it carried a strange smell like old metal and something rotting. The forest around them was silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. Tiho had spent many years studying animals on Earth before the hunger for adventure took him to the stars. He had worked with wolves in the northern mountains. He had swum with sharks in the deep ocean. He had tracked bears through frozen wilderness. He knew what silence meant in nature. It meant something dangerous was nearby, something that made every other creature hide. They found the survivor inside the crashed ship. She was an Orani woman, tall and thin with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. Her left arm was badly injured, wrapped in emergency bandages that were already soaked with purple blood. She was conscious but weak, and when she saw the 2 humans enter, her eyes widened with something like disgust. "Humans," she said, her voice filled with disbelief. "They sent humans." "No one sent us," Yuna replied. "We picked up your distress signal, we came to help." "Help," the Orani woman tried to laugh, but it turned into a cough. "You cannot help. You need to leave, now, before night comes." "Night?" Tiho looked through a crack in the ship's hull. The sky was already dark. "It looks like night already." "This is twilight, true night is coming, and when it comes the hollow will hunt." The word hung in the air like poison. Tiho felt Yuna grab his arm tightly. Everyone in the galaxy knew about hollows. They were the reason Noctis 7 was abandoned. They were the reason 3,000 colonists had died screaming in the darkness. "My name is Vila," the Orani woman continued. "I am a xenobiologist. I came here with a team of 12 to study the hollows from a safe distance. We thought our ship was secure. We were wrong. They came through the walls like shadows. They killed everyone. I only survived because I hid in the medical bay. The machines there create electromagnetic interference that confused them, but the power is failing. Soon, they will find me too. Then we need to get you to our ship, Yuna said quickly. Can you walk? It does not matter if I can walk. The moment we step outside, they will sense us. Hollows detect bioelectric energy. Every living creature produces it. To them, we are like bright lights in the darkness. They will come for us. Then we move fast, Tiho said. Vila looked at him with those large silver eyes. There was no hope in them, only pity. You do not understand, human. Hollows are not animals. They are not predators that can be outrun or outsmarted. They are living darkness. They absorb the life force of anything they touch. Your weapons will not hurt them. Your speed will not save you. The Galactic Council has sent entire war fleets to destroy them. All of them failed. What do you think 2 cargo runners can do? Tiho did not answer. He was standing very still, his head tilted slightly to one side. He was listening. It is already here, he said quietly. Yuna and Vila both froze. For a moment there was nothing. Then they heard it too. A sound like wind moving through empty halls, a whisper without words, and at the edge of the broken hull, a shadow that moved against the direction of the light. Vila pressed herself against the wall, her injured arm forgotten. Do not move. Do not even breathe. Any spike in your bioelectric field will attract it. Yuna was shaking. She tried to control it but could not. Fear was a chemical reaction, and chemicals produced energy, and energy was exactly what the hollow wanted. But Tiho was different. He was not afraid, not because he was brave in the way soldiers were brave, not because he was too foolish to understand the danger. He was not afraid because fear had never been his natural response to predators. Curiosity was. He took a step toward the shadow. What are you doing? Vila hissed. It will kill you. Tiho did not respond. He took another step, then another. The shadow shifted, and for a moment 2 faint points of light appeared within it, eyes ancient and hungry. Tiho stopped walking. He stood completely still. His heartbeat was slow. His breathing was even. His body produced almost no excess energy at all. The hollow watched him. He watched it back. And then, without looking away from the creature, Tiho spoke to the others. Go to the ship, take her with you, I will follow. Tiho, Yuna started. Go now. Yuna knew that voice. It was the voice her brother used when there was no room for argument. She grabbed Vila and helped her toward the exit, moving as slowly and calmly as she could manage. Behind them, Tiho remained standing in the darkness, alone with the most feared creature in the galaxy. He did not run. He did not fight. He simply waited. And somewhere in the ancient mind of the hollow, something that had never happened before began to happen. Confusion, interest. This prey was different. This prey was not afraid. Yuna sat in the medical bay of the Biko with her back against the wall. Her hands were shaking. She had stopped trying to control them an hour ago. Across from her, Vila lay on the treatment table while the ship's medical system worked on her injured arm. Your brother is dead, Vila said. Her voice was flat, empty of emotion. I am sorry, but you need to accept this. We need to leave this planet before more hollows come. He is not dead. No living creature has ever survived direct contact with a hollow. The Galactic Council has documented over 10,000 encounters. The survival rate is 0, not low, 0. Yuna shook her head. You do not know my brother. Vila made a sound that might have been a laugh on her world. I have studied predators my entire life. I have degrees from the finest institutions in the Orani Empire. I have written papers that are taught in universities across 12-star systems, and I am telling you with absolute certainty that no amount of human stubbornness can. She stopped talking because the door opened. Tiho walked in. He was alive, unharmed, and he was not alone. Behind him, moving like smoke given form, was a hollow. It was smaller than the one Vila had seen kill her crew, perhaps the size of a large earth dog. Its body was made of shadow, shifting and flowing as it moved. Thin lines of pale blue light ran through it like veins, pulsing slowly. Two dim lights glowed where its eyes should be. Vila screamed. It was not a dignified sound. It was the raw, primal scream of a creature facing its worst nightmare. She tried to get off the table, to run, to hide, but her injured arm gave out and she fell to the floor. "Stay calm," Tiho said. He spoke in the same quiet voice he always used. "It will not hurt you. It is just curious." "Curious?" Vila stared at him as if he had lost his mind. "It is a hollow. It does not get curious. It hunts and it kills, and that is all it does." The hollow made a sound. It was soft, almost like a question. It moved past Tiho and approached Vila. She pressed herself against the wall, her silver eyes wide with terror. "Do not move," Tiho said. "Do not run. Just breathe slowly and let it look at you." "Let it look at me. It is going to eat my life force." "No, it already fed recently. It is not hungry. Right now, it is just trying to understand what you are." Vila wanted to argue. She wanted to explain that hollows did not work that way, that decades of research had proven they were mindless consuming machines. But the creature was right in front of her now, and it was not attacking. It was watching her with those strange, dim eyes. After a long moment, it made another soft sound and turned away. It moved back to Tiho and settled on the floor near his feet like a loyal pet. Yuna had not moved during any of this. She had just watched her brother, her expression unreadable. "How?" she finally asked. Tiho sat down on a storage crate. He looked tired but peaceful. "Do you remember when I worked with the wolves in the northern mountains, the pack that had never seen humans before? I remember you almost died. I almost died because I made mistakes. I was young and impatient. I tried to approach them like I was in charge. The alpha male did not like that. He attacked me and I barely escaped." Tiho looked down at the hollow by his feet. "But I learned from that mistake. The next time I did something different. I sat down at the edge of their territory and I waited. I did not approach them. I did not look at them directly. I did not act like a predator or like prey. I just existed in the same space as them. And they accepted you. Eventually, it took many weeks, but wolves are curious creatures. When something does not fit their expectations, they want to understand it. A creature that does not run and does not attack. That is interesting. That is worth investigating." He gestured at the hollow. "This one is young. It has never encountered anything like me before. Its instincts told it to kill me, but I was not acting like something that should be killed. I was not giving off fear chemicals. My heart was not racing. My muscles were not tense to run. I was just there, and that confused it." Vila slowly got back onto the treatment table. Her arm was still bleeding, but she barely noticed anymore. Her entire understanding of the universe was shifting beneath her feet. "That is impossible," she said, but there was no conviction in her voice anymore. "Hollows do not think. They are not curious. They are ancient weapons left behind by a dead civilization. They exist only to destroy." "Who told you that?" Tiho asked. "Everyone, every scientist, every study, the Galactic Council itself." "And how many of those scientists sat down in front of a hollow and tried to understand it?" Vila opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. The truth was, no one had. Every encounter with hollows had been combat. Every study had been conducted from a distance or through automated probes. No one had ever tried to communicate with them because everyone assumed it was impossible. "What do you call it?" Yuna asked, nodding toward the creature. Tiho thought for a moment. "Grim." "Grim? That is a strange name for a pet." "It is not a pet. It is a companion, and the name fits. Look at it." Yuna looked. The hollow was watching her with those dim eyes, its body flowing like dark water. It did look grim. ancient and serious and heavy with some unknowable sadness. "Grim," she repeated. "Okay, I can accept that. What I cannot accept is that my brother is now friends with the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, and we are still sitting on the planet where hundreds of its family members want to kill us." "We should leave," Vila agreed. "Even if this one has bonded with you somehow, the others will not be so friendly. They will sense us. They will come." Tiho nodded. "You are right, we should go." They prepared the Biko for departure. Vila was weak from blood loss, so Yuna helped her to a seat in the main cabin. Tiho took the controls, and Grim settled in a dark corner near the engine room, apparently enjoying the warmth. As the ship lifted off from Noctis 7, Vila stared out the window at the dark forests disappearing below. She had come to this planet to study hollows. She had expected to observe them from a safe distance, to gather data, to write papers that would make her famous. Instead, her team was dead. She was injured, and everything she thought she knew had been proven wrong by a human who worked with wolves. "I have questions," she said. "I expected you would," Tiho replied without looking away from the controls. "Your species has only been traveling between stars for a short time, less than 200 years. The Orani have been doing it for over 10,000. We have the most advanced technology, the most developed science, the greatest understanding of the universe. And yet you, a simple cargo runner, accomplished something that our entire civilization could not. How?" Tiho thought about the question for a while before answering. The stars streamed past the window as the Biko accelerated away from the cursed planet. "On Earth," he finally said, "we have a long history with dangerous animals. Lions, tigers, crocodiles, snakes, sharks. For most of our existence, we were not the strongest creatures. We were small and soft and easy to kill, but we survived. We survived because we learned to understand the things that hunted us. We learned their patterns. We learned their needs. We learned that most creatures do not want to fight unless they have to. They want food. They want safety. They want to be left alone. Once you understand what a creature wants, you can find ways to exist alongside it." Vila considered this. "But hollows are not natural creatures. They were created as weapons. They have no needs except to kill." "Are you sure about that?" The research clearly states." Research done by people who never got close enough to really look." Tiho glanced at the corner where Grim rested. "That creature back there is not a weapon. It is a living thing. It experiences the universe. It makes choices. It was confused by me because I did not act like it expected. That means it has expectations. That means it thinks. And if it thinks, then it can be understood." The ship flew on through the darkness of space. Behind them, Noctis 7 grew smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among millions. In the corner, Grim made a soft sound that might have been contentment. And Vila, the most respected xenobiologist in the Orani Empire, began to wonder if everything her civilization believed about the universe might be wrong. The Orani homeworld was called Velanthos, and it was everything Earth was not. The cities were made of crystal and silver metal that caught the light of 3 suns and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the sky. The buildings rose so high they seemed to touch the clouds. Flying vehicles moved in perfect patterns, controlled by computer systems that had not made a mistake in over 1,000 years. Yuna pressed her face against the window of the Biko like a child seeing snow for the first time. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "It is efficient," Vila corrected her. "Beauty is a side effect." They landed at a port near the center of the capital city. Orani workers in crisp uniforms approached the ship, but they stopped when they saw who was inside. Humans were rare on Velanthos. The Orani considered them a young species, barely worth noticing, like children playing at civilization. But Vila was well known here. She was a famous scientist, and her family had connections to the High Council itself. When she sent word that she needed to speak with the council immediately, they listened. "Leave the hollow on the ship," she told Tiho as they prepared to leave. If you walk into the council chambers with that thing, they will panic. They might attack. People will die. Grim stays with me, Tiho said simply. You do not understand. The council has authorized the use of extreme weapons against hollows. They have standing orders to destroy them on sight, if they see one. Then they will learn something new. Vila stared at him. In the week since they had left Noctis 7, she had grown used to Tiho's strange calmness. But this was different. This was madness. You will start a war, she said. No, I will end a fear. He walked out of the ship with Grim flowing beside him like a living shadow. Yuna followed, looking nervous but determined. Vila hesitated for a long moment, then cursed in her native language and went after them. The streets of the capital were crowded with Orani going about their daily business. When they saw the hollow, the crowd scattered like water poured on hot metal. Screams echoed off the crystal buildings. Some people ran into shops and homes, slamming doors behind them. Others froze in terror, unable to move. Tiho walked calmly through the chaos. Grim stayed close to his side, ignoring the frightened aliens completely. The creature seemed almost bored. Security forces arrived within minutes. They wore silver armor and carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Their leader, a tall Orani male with scars on his face, pointed his weapon directly at Grim. Halt, he commanded. Do not move. That creature is a Class 1 threat. We have authorization to. To do what? Tiho asked. He stopped walking but showed no fear. Kill it. Your weapons will not work. The hollow will absorb the energy. It will only make it stronger. The security leader hesitated. He knew this was true. Everyone knew this. But he had orders. He had protocols. He had never encountered a situation where the protocols were useless. I am here to speak with the council, Tiho continued. Vila of House Saranthos has arranged a meeting. We mean no harm to anyone. But if you attack, I cannot control what happens next. Grim made a low sound, almost like a growl. The security forces stepped back without meaning to. Vila pushed forward. Captain, I will take responsibility for this. The human speaks the truth. The council is expecting us. Please escort us there immediately and try not to do anything that will get everyone killed. The security captain looked at Vila, then at the hollow, then at the strange human who stood beside it without fear. Finally, he lowered his weapon. Follow me, he said. But if that thing attacks anyone, I will hold you personally responsible. I would expect nothing less, Vila replied. The council chambers were the most impressive building in the capital. They were shaped like a massive flower made of crystal, with each petal representing one of the 12 founding houses of the Orani Empire. The high councilors sat in a circle at the center, their seats rising above the floor so they could look down on anyone who addressed them. When Tiho walked in with Grim, the reaction was immediate. Half the councilors leaped from their seats. Guards rushed forward with weapons drawn. Emergency alarms began to blare throughout the building. For a moment, it seemed like everything would dissolve into chaos and violence. Then the High Chancellor raised her hand. She was old even by Orani standards. Her blue skin had faded to almost white, and her silver eyes were clouded with age. But her voice was strong, and when she spoke, everyone listened. Stop! The guards froze. The alarms went silent. The councilors slowly returned to their seats, though many of them kept their eyes fixed on the hollow with pure terror. Vila of House Saranthos, the High Chancellor said, you sent word that you had witnessed something impossible. I see now that you were not exaggerating. Vila stepped forward and bowed in the traditional manner. High Chancellor, honored counselors, I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but some things must be seen to be believed. Explain. Vila told the story. She told them about the research mission to Noctis 7, about the deaths of her team, about the human cargo runners who had rescued her, and about what Tiho had done. When she finished, The council chambers were completely silent. The High Chancellor leaned forward in her seat. Her ancient eyes studied Tiho with intense interest. "You claim to have tamed this creature," she said. "Prove it." Tiho nodded. He reached down and placed his hand on Grimm's head. The hollow made a soft sound and pressed against his palm like a cat seeking attention. Several counselors gasped. One of them fainted. "It is not tamed," Tiho said. "It has chosen to stay with me. There is a difference." "How?" "I did not try to control it. I did not try to kill it. I simply showed it that I was not a threat and not prey, something in between, something interesting." The High Chancellor sat back in her seat. She was quiet for a long time, thinking. The other counselors whispered among themselves, their voices a nervous buzz. "For 10,000 years," the High Chancellor finally said, "we have feared the Hollows. We have sent armies against them. We have developed weapons to fight them. We have quarantined entire worlds because of them. And in all that time, we never once considered that they might be reasoned with. We never tried to understand them. We only tried to destroy them." She looked at Tiho with something that might have been respect, or perhaps shame. "And then a human from a species that has barely begun to explore the stars accomplishes what we could not, by doing something we never thought to try." She paused. "Tell me, human, how did you know it would work?" Tiho shrugged. It was a simple gesture, very human, and it seemed to confuse the Orani. "I did not know," he admitted. "But on Earth we have learned that most creatures are not evil. They are not good either. They simply are. They do what their nature tells them to do. A wolf kills to eat. A shark attacks what looks like prey. A hollow consumes what produces fear. But if you remove the fear, you remove the attack. And you were not afraid." "I was curious. Curiosity feels different from fear. To the hollow, I did not look like food. I looked like something new, something worth investigating." He paused. "Every monster is just an animal that has not been understood yet. My people learned this long ago." The High Chancellor nodded slowly. Around her, the other counselors were beginning to recover from their shock. Some of them still looked terrified, but others were watching Tiho with new interest. "What do you want, human?" the High Chancellor asked. "Why did you come here?" "I want to help," Tiho said. "The Hollows are dangerous because no one understands them. I think I can change that, but I cannot do it alone. I need resources. I need support. I need the Orani to stop trying to kill every Hollow they see and start trying to learn." "You are asking us to change thousands of years of policy based on one example." "I am asking you to try something new, because the old way is not working. You have been fighting the Hollows for 10,000 years and they are still here. Maybe it is time for a different approach." The High Chancellor looked at Grimm. The Hollow sat peacefully at Tiho's feet, its dim eyes watching the council without hostility or interest. "Perhaps," she said quietly, "it is time indeed." Vila watched the exchange with growing amazement. She had expected the council to reject Tiho's proposal. She had expected anger and denial and demands for the Hollow to be destroyed. Instead, she saw something she had never seen in her people before. Hope. And underneath the hope, barely visible, was something else. Something the Orani had always been too proud to admit. The realization that they did not know everything. That maybe, sometimes, the youngest species in the galaxy could teach the oldest ones something new. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within days, every major civilization knew about the human who had bonded with a Hollow. Some reacted with wonder, some reacted with disbelief, and some reacted with greed. The Void Cartel was not a government or a nation. It was a criminal organization that operated in the spaces between civilizations, in the lawless territories where no one's rules applied. They smuggled weapons. They sold stolen technology. They controlled entire black markets across dozens of star systems. And when they heard about Tiho and Grimm, they saw an opportunity. "Imagine an army of Hollows," said the cartel's leader, a scarred alien named Boras who had killed his way to the top of the organization. Creatures that cannot be stopped by any weapon, creatures that feed on fear itself. If we could control them, we would be unstoppable. His lieutenants agreed. They always agreed. Disagreeing with Boras was a quick way to die. "Find the human," Boras ordered. "Bring him to me, alive if possible, the hollow too, and if anyone gets in the way, eliminate them." The hunters left that same day. A dozen ships, filled with the most dangerous mercenaries money could buy. Meanwhile, Tiho and his companions were traveling through the outer territories, heading back toward human space. The Orani Council had offered support for his research, but they needed time to prepare. Politics moved slowly, even when everyone agreed on the goal. Yuna was at the controls when the first warning light appeared on her console. "We have company," she said. "Multiple ships coming in fast." Tiho moved to stand beside her. On the scanner, he could see the enemy vessels spreading out to surround them. The Biko was a cargo ship, built for carrying goods, not for fighting. Against one armed vessel, they might have a chance. Against a dozen, they had none. "Can we outrun them?" Vila asked from her seat in the back. "No," Yuna replied. "They are faster than us, and they have already blocked the nearest jump point." "Then we surrender." Surrendering to the Void Cartel is the same as dying, just slower and more painful. A communication signal came through. Yuna opened the channel, and a rough voice filled the cabin. "Human ship Biko, this is Commander Drax of the Void Cartel. You have something we want. Surrender the human called Tiho and the creature known as Hollow, and the rest of you will be allowed to leave. Resist, and we will destroy your ship." Tiho took the communicator from his sister. "This is Tiho. I am curious about something. Your weapons cannot hurt a Hollow, you know this. So how do you plan to control one?" There was a pause. Then Drax's voice returned, sounding amused. "We have scientists. They say that if we capture you and the creature, they can study your bond, learn how it works, reproduce it. You should be proud, human. You have created something valuable." "I did not create anything. I simply did not attack." "Then you can teach us that, willingly or not." Tiho looked at Grim, who was resting in his usual corner. The Hollow had grown since they left Noctis 7. It was now the size of a small horse, its shadow body flowing with those strange lines of pale light. It had been fed and calm for weeks, but Tiho knew that could change quickly. "I have a counteroffer," he said into the communicator. "Leave now, do not follow us, and I will pretend this conversation never happened." Drax laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You are surrounded by 12 warships, you have no weapons, you have no escape, and you are threatening me. I am warning you, there is a difference. 1 minute. Then we open fire. Your ship is weak. It will not survive, but we will pull you from the wreckage, human, and we will make you regret this conversation for a very long time." The channel closed. Yuna looked at her brother. "Please tell me you have a plan." Tiho did not answer. He walked to the corner where Grim rested and knelt down beside the creature. For a long moment he simply looked at it. Then he began to speak. "You have been hungry," he said quietly. "I know, I have felt it. You have been patient, eating only what you needed, holding yourself back. But you do not need to hold back anymore." Grim's dim eyes brightened slightly. "There are 12 ships out there. They are filled with creatures who want to hurt us, who want to hurt you, who want to take away your freedom and turn you into a weapon." Tiho placed his hand on the Hollow's head. "I cannot tell you what to do. I will not try, but if you wanted to hunt, now would be a good time." Grim made a sound. It was low and deep, like distant thunder. Then it moved. Hollows could travel through darkness. This was one of the things that made them so terrifying. Where there was shadow, where there was absence of light, they could pass like ghosts through walls and hulls and armor. Space was full of darkness. Space was their natural home. Grim flowed through the hull of the Biko and into the void. For a moment, It was visible against the stars, a creature of living shadow outlined by faint lines of light. Then it moved toward the nearest cartel ship, and it moved fast. The screaming started almost immediately. On the communication channels, Tiho could hear the mercenaries panicking, shouts of confusion, cries of fear, then silence, one ship after another. "What is happening?" Vila whispered. She had moved to look at the scanner. The enemy ships were still there, but they were no longer moving. They drifted in space like dead things. "Grim is hunting," Tiho said simply. The process took less than 10 minutes. When it was over, 12 cartel ships floated empty in the void. Their crews were gone, not dead in the traditional sense, but drained. Hollows did not kill with violence. They consumed bioelectric energy until there was nothing left. The bodies remained, but the life was gone. Grim returned to the beacon, flowing back through the hull like smoke. It was larger now, its body swollen with the energy it had consumed. It settled in its corner and made a sound of satisfaction. Tiho watched it for a moment, then turned to the others. "We should go before more arrive." Yuna nodded and engaged the engines. The beacon moved past the drifting hulks of the cartel ships and toward the jump point. Vila was staring at Tiho. Her face was pale, even for an Orani. "You told it to kill them," she said. "No, I told it that it could hunt if it wanted to. The choice was its own." The difference seems small. "The difference is everything." Tiho sat down heavily. He looked tired. "If I had commanded Grim to attack, it would have been a weapon, my weapon. That is what the cartel wanted. That is what everyone wants. Control, power. But I do not control Grim. I am its companion, its friend. It protects me because it chooses to, not because I force it. And if it chose not to protect you, then I would be dead. That is the nature of trust." Vila was quiet for a long time. She had seen many things in her long career, monsters and wonders and everything in between, but she had never seen anything like this. A bond based on mutual respect rather than dominance. A relationship with a creature that everyone in the galaxy feared, built on nothing more than patience and understanding. "The cartel will send more," she finally said. "They do not give up easily." "I know. And others will come too. Governments, scientists, warlords, everyone who wants what you have discovered." "I know that too." Yuna turned from the controls. "So what do we do?" Tiho looked out the window at the stars streaming past. Somewhere out there, more enemies were gathering. More threats were forming. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and they were just 3 people and a shadow creature on a small cargo ship. But they had something no one else had. They had proven that the impossible was possible, that the most feared creature in existence could be reached, could be understood. "We keep going," Tiho said. "We find others who think like us. We teach them what we know, and we show the galaxy that there is a better way." Grim made a soft sound from its corner, agreement perhaps, or just contentment. Outside, the stars continued to shine, cold and ancient and waiting. 6 months had passed since the encounter with the Void Cartel. Things had changed. Everything had changed. Noctis 7 was no longer a forbidden world. The warning beacons had been removed. Ships came and went regularly now, carrying scientists and researchers and curious observers from across the galaxy. Where once there had been only death and silence, now there was something new. Hope, discovery, understanding. Tiho stood at the edge of the forest, watching the sunrise paint the dark trees in shades of purple and gold. Grim sat beside him, its shadow body still and peaceful. In the distance, he could see the lights of the new research station, built by a partnership between humans and Orani that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. "You are thinking again," said a voice behind him. He turned to see Vila approaching. She wore the uniform of the research station's lead scientist, but she moved differently than she used to. Less rigid, less proud. The months on Noctis 7 had changed her as much as they had changed everything else. I am always thinking, Tiho replied. It is a human habit. A useful one, it seems. She came to stand beside him, looking out at the forest. We received more applications today, 12 researchers from the Federation, 8 from the mining colonies, and 3 from Earth. 3 from Earth. Wildlife specialists. They heard about your work and want to help. Apparently, humans who study dangerous animals are very eager to study even more dangerous ones. Tiho smiled slightly. That sounds like my people. Below them in the valley where the research station stood, activity was beginning for the day. Orani scientists walked alongside human researchers. Automated drones flew overhead collecting data, and in the shadows at the edge of the forest other shapes moved. Hollows, watching, waiting. Some of them had begun to approach the station, curious about the strange creatures that had come to their world without weapons or fear. 3 more bondings had occurred in the past month. 2 humans and 1 Orani had managed to form connections with hollows, following the methods Tiho had developed. It was not easy. It required patience and stillness, and a kind of mental calm that most beings struggled to achieve. But it was possible. The proof was in the companions that now walked beside those pioneers. The High Council sent another message, Vila said. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations with the hollow population. They are asking you to serve as an ambassador. An ambassador to creatures that do not speak. They communicate. We have proven that, just not with words. Vila paused. Besides, you already are their ambassador whether you accept the title or not. You are the one who showed us they could be reached. You are the one who changed everything. Tiho was quiet for a while. He watched a young hollow emerge from the forest and approach one of the research teams. The scientists stopped what they were doing and stood still, controlling their fear, waiting. The hollow circled them once, twice, then lost interest and drifted away. No one had died. No one had even been threatened. A year ago, such an encounter would have ended in blood and screaming. I did not change everything, he finally said. I just did what felt right. The rest happened on its own. That is what I mean. You did not try to control the situation. You did not try to force your will on the universe. You just were, and the universe responded. Vila shook her head slowly. I have studied predators my entire life. I thought I understood them, but I was looking at them the wrong way. I was looking at them as problems to be solved, as threats to be managed. You looked at them as beings to be understood. That is the difference. On Earth, we call it empathy. The Orani have a similar concept, but we apply it only to other intelligent species, to equals. It never occurred to us that it might work with creatures we considered lesser. She paused. Perhaps that is why humans succeeded where we failed. You do not see lesser creatures, you only see different ones. Yuna emerged from the research station and walked up the hill to join them. She looked different too. The constant worry was gone from her eyes, replaced by something like contentment. For the first time in their years of wandering, she had a home, a purpose, a place where she belonged. The new team from the mining colonies has arrived, she reported. They brought supplies and equipment, also a lot of questions. Questions are good, Tiho said. Questions mean they want to learn. Some of them are scared. They have heard the stories about hollows their whole lives. It is hard to unlearn fear. Then we help them, one step at a time, the same way I learned, the same way everyone learns. He looked at Grim. Fear is just a reaction to the unknown. Once you know something, truly know it, the fear becomes respect, and respect becomes connection. A message came through on Vila's communicator. She read it, and her expression shifted to something between surprise and amusement. What is it? Yuna asked. The Galactic Council has made a decision. After months of debate, they have officially recognized hollows as a sentient species with rights of existence and protection. Noctis 7 has been declared a sanctuary world, and, she paused, reading further. They have created a new position within the Council, an ambassador for non-verbal species. They are offering it to Tiho. To me. You are the obvious choice. You have done what no one in galactic history has done. You have bridged the gap between our civilizations and a species we spent 10,000 years trying to destroy. The Council wants to formalize that role. They want you to continue doing what you do best. Tiho looked at his sister. She nodded slightly. What about the Biko? He asked. What about our life as cargo runners? Yuna laughed. It was a warm sound, full of genuine joy. Brother, we stopped being cargo runners the moment you walked into that dark forest on Noctis 7. We became something else, something more. I do not think we can go back to simple deliveries after all this. She is right, Vila agreed. The universe has changed because of what you did. You cannot unchange it. You can only decide how to move forward. Tiho was quiet for a long time. He watched the sun rise higher over the forest. He watched the research teams beginning their work. He watched a pair of young hollows playing in the shadows at the edge of the trees, their movements almost playful. Finally, he spoke. I will accept the position, but I have conditions. Name them. First, we continue the research, not just here but on other worlds. There are other species in the galaxy that have been declared too dangerous to approach. I want to study them, all of them. I want to see if what works with hollows works with others. Vila nodded. That can be arranged. Second, we bring more humans into the program. My people have something to offer, a way of seeing the universe that is different from the Orani or any other species. We should use that. Agreed. Third, Tiho paused. He looked at Grim, then at Vila, then at his sister. We do this together, all of us. I am not a hero. I am not a savior. I am just a man who learned something useful and wants to share it. The universe is too big for one person to change, but together we can do something that matters. Vila extended her hand in the human fashion. Tiho had taught her the gesture weeks ago, and she had practiced it until it felt natural. Together, she said. Tiho shook her hand. Yuna joined them, placing her hand on top of theirs. And in the shadows, Grim made a soft sound that seemed almost like approval. Later that day, Vila sat in her quarters and recorded a personal log. It was a habit she had maintained since her earliest days as a scientist, a way of organizing her thoughts, a way of remembering. I spent my life believing that intelligence was measured by technology, she said to the recorder. By conquest, by control. The humans have taught me otherwise. They do not seek to dominate the galaxy. They seek to understand it. They see monsters and wonder what those monsters are thinking. They see darkness and walk into it to see what lives there. She paused, gathering her thoughts. Perhaps that is why the Hollow, the creature we feared above all others, chose one of them. It saw something in Tiho that it recognized, something it trusted, something that was not prey and not predator but something else entirely, a friend. Another pause, longer this time. Perhaps that is why I chose them too, why I stayed on Noctis 7 when I could have returned to my comfortable life on Velanthos. Why I gave up my position in the scientific establishment to work alongside creatures I once feared. She looked out her window at the dark forest beyond the station walls. Somewhere in those shadows, hollows moved and watched and waited. They were no longer enemies. They were neighbors, partners in something new. The galaxy is changing, Vila concluded. And for the first time in 10,000 years, I believe it is changing for the better. Because of one human who sat in the darkness and waited. Because of one choice to understand rather than destroy. She ended the recording and turned off the light. Outside, the stars began to appear in the twilight sky, and in the forest, a hollow made a sound that might have been contentment, or perhaps it was something more. Perhaps it was hope.